The first presidential debate is behind us now, and here to talk about it, as well as what's next for the presidential campaigns, are 9 News political analyst Pat Crowley, and sitting in for Howard Wilkinson today is our old friend Gene Beaupre of Xavier University. Gentlemen, so good to have you here. Got to talk about the debate, and to put it quite frankly, I think it's universal in saying that the president laid an egg. True, false? Yeah. How do you feel?
Horrible performance. Barack Obama's been a good debater in the past, and he's always been good on his feet, and he's a good speaker, but Wednesday night he was just completely off his game. And not only did he look bad and not present well, but he opened the door for Romney, and now Romney has some new life in this campaign.
You know, it's interesting, though. I think that going forward, Romney has to be as good as he was the last debate, and that's a challenge for him. There are those who argue, I think tongue-in-cheek, that maybe this was a strategy, that Obama didn't have to be that good. He shouldn't be too aggressive. He doesn't want to look like he's kicking somebody who's down. He was 10 points ahead at the time, roughly, in some polls. And now it's up to Romney, and you know, maybe Obama can come back with a different kind of style. You
know, you actually raise an interesting point, and that is, you know, what are the challenges for each of these gentlemen as they move forward and their campaigns? You mentioned Mitt Romney has to keep that up, and President Obama can only go up from here, perhaps.
I think so, but I think that Obama had Romney down, had his foot on his throat, and he could have cut the head off last night, and he didn't. He kept the door open, and I know the strategy there, Gene, because we've both seen it a million times, and it can be effective. But to hear Obama not talk about the 47% tape, the auto bailout, which was so effective in a state like Ohio, Romney's personal tax situation. I mean, we were talking before we went on the air, Twitter and the websites, the Democrats are more upset, or as upset as you saw the Republicans before the debate, were they upset with Romney's campaign.
And, you know, and that's the substantive stuff, and that's what's really important, but even in every other way, even the style, these split screens that they were using that night that had, I couldn't tell whether he was taking a little nap there or whether he was writing notes, but he wrote a lot of notes during that time period. This is Obama, you know, and when Obama was talking, I mean, Romney was it looked like he was eyeball to eyeball with him. And, you know, it reminds me of the Nixon situation where, you know, he's perspiring and and you can't, and his handlers are too good not to know that.
And it reminds me of Al Gore. Remember when Al Gore was sighing and looked exasperated because of the split screen? I don't know if Obama was aware of it or not. He certainly had to be.
You can't not be aware of it. I mean, that's what you pay these guys for that are standing behind you. You know?
Yeah, you would imagine that his handlers are good enough to know that remember, you're always on. And he's got to know that. Does it change how these campaigns move forward, your strategy?
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, I don't, they'll go away and craft, they being the Obama people will go away, both sides will. But thinking about what he can do to recover from this, they'll go away and craft messages, which by now I'm sure viewers have seen, that somehow parlay this into something. And I'm not in the room. I wouldn't know what that would be. And I think for Romney, it's, you know, how do you keep the high? You know, how do you keep that high? And he cannot, now he can't afford mistakes either.
Right. And this is a situation where I don't know if I don't think it was a game changer. It wasn't a knockout of Obama. It was clearly a bad performance. But what it did is it fired the Republican base back up. As we said, there's been a lot of stories since the convention that the campaign, the Republicans are upset with it. It's been lackluster. I think this gave them a boost today. I talked to a lot of Republicans today over in Northern Kentucky and after the debate, the days after the debate, and they were very enthusiastic and excited about what they saw.
I imagine money's going to start rolling into that Romney campaign faster.
I'd like to be wherever it's coming in. There's some big checks. I mean, if I were going to use his time between then and now, it would be on the phone talking to my donors.
That's a great point, Tanya, because during August in the conventions, it was the first month in 4 or 5 months that Obama outraised Romney. So now you're exactly right. It's going to be a kick in finances for Romney.
There's another thing that may have happened here, which is people have stopped, I think, looking at the campaign ads, and they may be going back to them now. But the reason I'm saying that is more money can only help so much. I mean, the airwaves are going to get so crowded that people are going to start looking at it. But right now is a really pivotal point when people may be making a different have a different view of it. And so this is where they would be doing those kinds of commercials.
Let's turn to the next big debate. It is the vice presidential debate. I'm looking forward to this one as well. Given the president's performance, is there more pressure on Joe Biden to do well and be strong?
I'm sure there is a problem. No, Joe feels pressure. He just kind of flies from the hip.
Yeah,
and,
that's true.
You know, anything could happen when he gets a microphone in front of him, and it's going to be fascinating. It's great for Center College. I covered the 2000 debate. I think you were down there too, with Lieberman and Cheney. So it's good for this part of the country. But I think all eyes are going to be on it because he is such a loose cannon. I mean, you know him.
Well, yes, I do, and I think what he'll be good at is he will command the stage. And he may very well do what the president didn't do in the last debate, which is go after the details in the platform on the other side and work those hard and work them repeatedly. I mean, that's one of the things that Romney did against Obama, was he had a mantra that he went through, you know, ad nauseum, and Obama would say something and then you'd never hear about it again later, you know, 45 minutes later. You can't do that.
Now, what about Paul Ryan? Paul Ryan seems, I've never seen him debate, but he seems like a guy who's pretty fast on his feet.
Yeah, that's a reputation he has. One of the reasons he has the committees he does in Congress, he handles the budgets because he knows how to articulate a message and is pretty good at it. He's been decent on the stump, but this is just a whole new ball game. And given what happened Wednesday night, more pressure on it. We'll see how he performs.
He is. There's an age difference there too. And I think that's a factor
experience
and age, and I think that's a factor in how an audience views them. I think he runs the risk, I think, of being inappropriately aggressive, and so that's a real balance. I thought that going into the first debate, but that got lost somewhere. It got lost probably after the moderator lost control. You know.
Yes. Well, and unfortunately for Jim Lara, he's been debated about himself in this case. You know, I'm looking forward to next week because we get to discuss the vice presidential debate. It's going to be a good one. You know, we'll see what happens. Pat, Jean, it's always a pleasure to see you.
Thanks,
you
Tanya.
can see much more of this discussion online right now at WCPO.com.